Hey, this is Josh, my fanboy. You are listening to audio from the Comics Podcasting 1 Year Later panel, which took place on July 26th at the San Diego Comic Con in 2007. The panel is made up of Mr. Phil from Indie Spinner Rack, John Towery of Comic Talk Cafe, Ian Levinstein of Comic Timing, John Mayo of Comic Book Page, Scott Hines of Fanboy Radio, and Jimmy Aquino of Comic News Insider, and myself, Josh Flanagan from iFanboy.com. The panel is moderated by Vito Del Sante, a comic book writer and retailer from Jim Hanley's Universe in New York City. We'd like to thank the San Diego Comic Con for letting us have the panel. Before we get going, I'll just warn you the audio is not going to be quite as clean as what you're hearing right now, but we boosted the gain way up so that you could hear everybody pretty clearly. Hope you enjoy.
All right, I guess we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to Podcasting 1 Year Later. You can clap if you like. It's always a good sign. My name is Vito Del Sante, and I'm the moderator for the next hour and a half. Most of you don't have a clue who I am, and that's fine. I am one of the managers of Jim Hanley's Universe in New York, which is one of the largest retailers in the New York City area. I also am a freelance writer. I write mostly for DC Comics, and I don't know why they asked me to do it, but I'm more than happy to take Clay's places here. Going down the line, please introduce yourself and your show.
Hi, I'm Mr. Phil from Indie Spinner Rack.
I am Josh Flanagan from iFanboy.
I am John Towery from the Comic Talk Cafe.
I'm John Mayo from Comic Book Page.
I'm Scott Hines from Fanboy Radio.
Jimmy Aquino, Comic News Insider.
Okay, the first question I want to ask is, obviously going into podcasting, you have to be a pretty big fan of comics. And what I wanted to ask was, why did you go into podcasting and not maybe make your own comics? Was there a reason why you decided to put your voice on?
We don't have talent.
But have any of you ever thought of, possibly crossing into that realm? Please, don't nod, talk.
It's actually like sort of two sides of a coin. I mean, like many of the people who read comics, I'd say 75-80% they want to make comics. So I'm guessing most people have some weird little aspiration inside of them, to be a writer. And this is sort of the way that it manifested itself because you want to get noticed somehow. But like, myself, I've got books that I've worked on. I've got a little mini book that I'm pitching right now and bringing around down there. It's kind of weird though because we're in a position where we're critics in a way. So like, it's hard to be a critic and a creator at the same time. So that's a weird little spot. But I mean, I do both. Although I've only been successful with the podcast thus far.
Yeah, I'm speaking for myself. I'm also kind of doing double duty at this con out of the Colors portfolio, so I'm showing that around, and plus I'm setting up interviews and stuff. So, I think I started. I've always been wanting to be a creator, and I think just the comic book podcasting was just a way for me to become closer to that realm and be able to actually have discussions with different creators and stuff, and just from a fan's perspective, but also to some degree. Tucking little tidbits away for myself and possibly a future career.
Anybody else?
I had been interested in doing comics and stuff, and then started looking into how they were selling, and realizing my level of artistic ability, mine was, I have to be paying people to get them. That wasn't going to work. But I
Get them on the cover.
Yeah. -$5. Please, still take it. So I got interested in tracking the sales and stuff, and that's kind of how I got into the podcasting and stuff through Comic Geek Speak.
Yeah, I think Josh and I agree. It's like everyone, we're certainly interested in some form. I can't draw. I think we all write some, so I wouldn't mind taking a stab at writing. But we started doing the podcast for fun because we were big fans and we loved it. I bartend in New York. No, you don't get free drinks. But it's just really fun. It's a fun thing to do, and it turns into something else and can lead to something else. Rock on.
I'd love to write. I'm horrible at it. And every time I start writing anything, it ends up just kind of turning into a rant, which then I can just turn into a blog post. My time's wasted. But
Your haikus are great, Scott.
I'd love to write, but it's tough with all the podcasts that needs to be done.
It ain't gonna podcast itself, right? And we had
Try
a
to do
late,
both at the same time.
we had a latecomer. I just want you to introduce yourself on the show, right?
Yeah, my name's Ian Levenstein. I'm fashionably late, so sue me. Comic Timing Podcast over at speakgeekspeak.com/comic timing. And I did the Geek Speak report for a while, but it's pretty much dead now, but I might barely put out one or two every couple of months. That's sort of like my my All-Star Batman and Robin of podcasts, I guess. And, you know, just sort of comes out whenever I have the time to actually go about doing it. So, other than that, I'm weekly pretty much. So, listen to the other one. Yeah. Just going with what they were saying from when I got the gist of it there. I like talking. I like writing also. But talking is much more natural for me, so that's sort of why I just went straight to the podcasting, because I realized that actually writing up something and sticking with it all the way through can be really hard sometimes. You know, with a podcast, you just put it out, and it's out. That's it. Writing, you got to stick with it for a while until you get all the kinks out, and that can be a pain in the butt sometimes.
Not that podcasting is really easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
Start doing. It's extremely hard.
Oh, yeah. Editing until 3 a.m., I have no idea what you're talking about.
When you start at 2:30.
You guys edit?
The thing that I notice about most of your, if not all, your podcasts is that you all have opinions on the comics that you read, and even some comics that you don't usually read. Has your view of comic books changed since you started podcasting? Like, do you find that you hate something that you might have loved, or that you're a little more open to something that you might not have read before? Anybody?
I think I'm a little more open to everything now. I'm reading a lot more of a variety. For a while, I kind of got stuck in a little bit of a rut with overly serious, dramatic books, and I've been reading more funny stuff, and even reading Shazam, for example. And I'm really digging a lot of the odd stuff that's coming out. There's a lot of, just a huge variety right now. I think it's a great time. Great time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has, because I have to look at them and think about something to say. Whereas before, when I wasn't doing the show or anything like that, you just read them and you go, that's okay. And now I have to really think about it and look about it. And the more you do, the more stuff you notice about the craft and the way things are put together. So it's definitely, and I end up reading more just because I need, you have to fuel the shows, and you have to. So based on that alone, like I end up buying more books and listening to more shows. You guys have turned me on to a lot of stuff. Just you just have to fuel the machine. The more you do, the more you learn. And conversely, when we started out, I'd say I was really critical of a lot of things, and now I look at things differently. I don't say anymore. I don't go, oh, that book sucked. I have to say, this book was, I didn't like it because of this or whatever, but I don't know, reading all of this stuff makes me, and having us do it, makes me really appreciate all the craft that goes into everything. And on the other side of every book that you say, that book sucked, there's a person there, and we might run into them on the floor. And I don't want that.
But you could tell them that it sucks.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, you start thinking about it, and like, some things have come in or anything, but like, some of the stuff that you say sucks, it isn't really. It's not because it's bad. It's just those people aren't completely mature to develop, and you start to appreciate the different things people.
Right. No, I agree. You find yourself more, I think, if you're with your friends, like, it's horrible, it sucked, I hated it. But then on the show, you might, I'd be a little more forgiving just because, like, well, it wasn't really what I liked. I didn't really care for this. But, this person put a lot into it. And, perhaps let's see what happens in the next issue, see if they can get going. So, I agree. Yeah.
It's different when you read something once than when you read something 2 or 3 times. And for the podcast, you usually have to read it 2 or 3 times so you can actually, get a really good idea of what the writer was actually trying to get out there. And sometimes it helps me like a book more, and sometimes it really doesn't. And it's interesting just to see how, I was always a one-read guy pretty much up until I started podcasting, and now my opinions have changed, mostly for the positive. There is that occasional negative that I get in there. Oh, well, I didn't notice that the first time, and that's sort of against the character, so on and so forth. It's more nitpicking than anything, but that can happen from time to time.
Nitpicking is where content comes from.
Oh, of course.
I mean, we need to fill up an hour.
Yeah, that's how that works,
You got the wrong cape color.
His eyes were blue, but weren't they brown last issue? What's going on?
Yeah,
I think that's the thing, is like you're looking for content, so you're going to probably consume more material.
Yeah.
So definitely you're going to be exposed to a broader audience. I know, like at Comic-Con, my goal this year is to really, look at the small press, small media stuff, and because that's content. I mean, a lot of them are really looking for an outlet. So, I'm not going to get turned down, but not that I'd be able to get bigger people, but still, it's nice because then you get exposed to new things that are kind of flying under the radar. And so, yeah, you get exposed to new books, things you wouldn't necessarily have picked up before podcasting.
I'm certainly reading a lot more indie books than I was getting a lot, but just getting exposed to a lot of the smaller press and stuff that doesn't get the exposure that the DC and Marvel stuff does. It certainly expanded my taste and stuff.
Before we go to Scott, I just wanted to follow up on your answer, John. Was that is that due to the fact that maybe locally that stuff wasn't available, or is it just that you weren't interested until you got the podcast?
I'm one of those rare readers who actually really likes superhero comics. So I'm really happy with Marvel and DC, and I'm getting most of their stuff. So just finding out about more indie stuff that suits my taste was a lot. There's Austin Books where I read, which is one of the best indie stores in the country. So most of, when I find out about something, I can usually find it there.
Yeah. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of have a different take. I like kind of breezing through the comic and making rash decisions and taking a lot of things on the surface and really hitting it from the non-reader point of view about what is good from someone who is barely giving it a chance. I mean, I'll go into it, and for different shows, if I'm interviewing a creator, and it depends on our rapport, I think, a lot. But I'm not sure. People really, I think, have to earn the right to be heard in comics. There's so much noise, and we're dealing with images. We're dealing with a lot of things that. It's just, these are disposable comics. Maybe they should be, maybe they shouldn't be, but I don't know. I kind of just, I don't really reread anything at all anymore. And maybe it's because part of my show has started to diversify its topics a lot, and I'm not just comics at all. I'm definitely probably more towards the wizard line of content than maybe some of these guys, but which is horrible. But I guess, and I've definitely been more critical, one way or the other, either telling non-readers or people that just read one or two titles, you've got to buy this book. It is God's gift to comics, or it's absolute garbage. And because that's, I think, where some entertainment comes in, is having extreme reactions. And when someone's looking for a comic book podcast, even if they're non-readers or they used to be readers, or they're getting into it now, as opposed to someone who might be just consuming every single comic book podcast, then entertainment value is where I think it comes in, and our criticism for entertainment value. And also, going back to the last question, I'm totally scared because of my scathing criticism in the past of doing any kind of content at all, because of Roger Ebert. He made the crappiest screenplay of all time. He's a film critic, so and I'm going to be judged.
And he's a well-respected critic at that.
Yeah, a well-respected critic, horrible screenwriter. I don't want to have the same person.
Beyond the Value of Dolls is great.
What?
Beyond the Value of Dolls is great. You're crazy. Z-Man alone is worth watching that movie. Jimmy, what about you?
Well, like I said earlier, we do tend to be a little more forgiving on things, but there have been quite often times where I'm the same way. I'm like Joe, my co-host, who's here right now. He's very forgiving about things, and he'll go, "Oh, well, maybe you should pick them up." I'm like, "No, don't get it." I'll just flat out say, because but people have to understand it's an opinion, and it's my opinion. Who am I? Nobody. Someone. But take my opinion for what you like. A lot of people agree with it. A lot of people don't. So I will, if people get enraged at it, they're like, "Oh my God, he totally ripped my comment." And I've even had somebody where I didn't give a very favorable review to. They write us, go, "Well, I know you didn't really like our book that much, but here's another one. It's the second issue. They'll send us, or here's another book we'll work on." And very well, I end up liking that one. So I think the people that are smart and intelligent understand that. If we're not just being like, jerks about it or whatever, they understand that we're trying to give a semi-intelligent review or something, or, review of something without just completely knocking it down once it does so. But,
I think one of the things that the guys who have the shows is just the one person talking. Those guys are in a rut. Like we're kind of lucky because we've got three of us and we don't agree on anything ever. So like it's really like last week the pick of the week, Ron loved it and I was like I don't like it at all. And we get to do that, but it's funny because we get painted with this brush. Whoever the first person to talk is, that equals you guys. So we get the you guys hated this book and I loved it. It's kind of weird. Hey, before we go, can you guys describe your shows real quick? Just because I didn't, for people who don't know all of them.
I don't have a show. Next.
Yet.
No, never.
My show, Indie Spinner Rack, co-hosted by Charlito. Our show is kind of, it's all about indie comics. Our show's kind of light. We try not to bash anything. We try to only talk about stuff that we like, primarily because, just because we don't like it doesn't mean somebody else out there won't like it. And with Marvel and DC can take a hard knock, and
you bash
it ain't going to be a problem. Well, they deserve it, quite honestly, in my opinion. But with the indie stuff, it's usually just one person doing it, and it's their heart and soul, and sometimes their whole life. And I'm not going to dump all over it just because I don't like it. So if I don't like it, I won't talk about it. Our show's kind of light and it's like a late night talk show. There's like silly songs and dumb bits.
But you guys have also been kind of like a flag waver for the indie stuff.
We try to really support the little guys, the mini comic people, people who are stapling their own book that they just printed at work on the sly, stuff like that. The really low end guys.
We'll take it. The Staples comics.
Josh, tell them what I can.
We do our audio podcast is a weekly sort of like a review show. These are the books that came out this week. We do a pick of the week, which is the best one that week, and then we'll talk about other notable books. It's me and two other guys, Ron and Connor, and we'll do take listener letters and questions and things like that, and that comes out on Sundays. And then on Wednesdays we have a video show, which is a little more timeless. We'll pick a topic and talk about it. If we wanted to go to a con and show that, or we'll do a signing, or we'll each pick some random book that we like. But we really get a chance to talk about graphic novels and indie books that we don't get to talk about in the sort of weekly churn of books like that. But it's like a comics opinion and culture show, I would say.
Comic Timing is a rotating panel of guests with people I've never met in real life. It's kind of interesting. Well, except for John over there. Hi John. How are you? Pretty much. It's all over Skype, so I get to talk to anybody everywhere. Florida, Australia, England, California, wherever. And we pretty much just talk about anything in comics that we really feel like talking about that week. It could either be a movie review, or it could be we do 22 pages reviews every now and then, where we take one specific comic book and review it cover to cover. Or we just have some general stuff. Like we just had one on religion in comics that was really interesting. That I actually think is probably one of our favorites. But pretty much we just all get together, talk comics, and either it comes out great or it sucks.
Yeah, our show, Comic Talk Cafe, just kind of, at first it was we started recording in a cafe, and that's why I called it that, but we realized it didn't really work very well, so.
Too much outside noise?
Yeah, there was quite a bit. So we moved into some more quiet areas. It started with me and Noran over there, and we added Chad and Rachel and Heidi, so we have 5 of us, 3 guys, 2 girls, so I think it's nice because you get kind of the female perspective, comic books. Especially Rachel, she's kind of new to comics too, so you get that as well. You get their opinions, and so it's a comic book opinion and discussion podcast. We just pretty much every twice a month we just grab the books that we've been reading and just discuss the ones what we liked, what we didn't like about them, and then we also talk about movies, TV, anything related to comic books, popular media. Do interviews whenever possible. Throw those in there as well. I got a spin-off video podcast where we do tutorials with Photoshop and how to create comic books with Photoshop. So that's something that's coming down the pipe. But so that's pretty much our show.
Okay, I'm feeling really lazy now. About half my episodes are syndicated off other podcasts I've been on. And
You mooch.
I find it much easier to produce that way when somebody else does all the work. A lot of my content has been talking about the sales figures for the comics and stuff. I'm going to be switching to a weekly format coming up with Bob Gretal. We're going to go over basically a couple of comics each week that came out, what we thought of them. We're going to try to get the stuff that seems to be falling through the cracks to all the other podcasts, and whatever else is their fancy and stuff in terms of what we want to talk about.
In blogs and podcasts, there's kind of two extremes. There's the journal and the production, and Fanboy Radio is a production, but just like any talk show, like the Stern Show or something like that, it steeps into a lot of journalism. It's very revealing about the host and stuff. So we're a production, we're a show, and we're primarily interviews with occasional open lines and topics, things like that. But it's almost primarily interviews within other segments like Summer Flub. And that's the radio show podcast. And in April, we started Fanboy TV, which season 1 just wrapped, 26 episodes in, that I do with Meg. And Oliver couldn't be here. Oliver's hosting a game show. So he's big time.
Which one?
He's hosting a game show. It's being shopped around. It's called Play It Safe. It involves a large safe filled with money. And he's, we got very diverse perspectives with Meg and Britta on there, of course, just like Cafe. And it's very, very valuable. Have a lot of different points of view. And it's a lot of fun. Been doing it for it'll be 6 years in November. But it's a blast.
Comic News Insider, we're basically a news show, Comic News Insider. We cover the news of the industry, which includes comics, entertainment, sci-fi, pop culture, etc. We have a basic format where we start off, and it's a weekly show. We record every Tuesday night, and we release every Wednesday morning. We start off with, reviews of whatever's released that week. We'll choose 2 or 3 random books. It's never any rhyme or reason what we choose. Sometimes if it's to do with an interview we have, we'll choose that book. And then the news segment is probably the longest. And we've gotten into doing the past year where we have an interview every show as well. And those can run anywhere from 10 minutes or, if we're talking to someone we really like and we really want to talk to them, we'll split it sometimes into 2 shows and we'll just keep talking. It's great. And that's been really a treat, just talking to these creators you love, and you get to, just to hang out and have a conversation with them about their books. And that's become sort of a regular thing as well. And we have, this thing we do, this top 3, where we each Joe and I pick our top 3 picks of the week, and that could be, a comic. It could be, hey, I just had this new can of beans. It's awesome. We'll tell people about it. Just whatever we like that week. It has nothing to do with whatever. It's just sort of our recommendations. And Dynamic Forces sponsors us as well. So we have a little plug for them as well. And through them, they've certainly helped us get a lot of interviews and things like that, which has been really nice. Also, we do little segments, little bits. We have a great Blair Butler from G-Force TV, Attack of the Show, comes out about once a month and just hangs out and talks with us about comics, and she's nerdier than any of us. We tell you what, and she knows her stuff really well, and it's always fun having her on because we consider having a girl's perspective, and she knows way more than any of us do, and it's really kind of a treat to have her on. And she's a big zombie freak like I am too, so that's cool. And we'll do certain little segments. We'll do a converting to comicdom segment, which usually gives us 2 comics to a girl who has never read a comic, doesn't know what it is, doesn't have an opinion, and we'll give it to we'll just random picks, and quite often we'll convert them. They're like, oh, I picked this up again, and although the last one they hated everyone we did, they never read a comic game. But it's just kind of fun to get their opinion, what they think. Like, well, why are her boobs so big, and why is it and it's so it's got it's got a great perspective to get from someone that's not a comic reader, who's not used to that scene, so it's kind of fun. But we try to keep it light and fun. We try to keep it around an hour each week, so we try to be funny as we can.
We should
I
probably
usually
do
draw
it
first,
first.
so.
We should have probably went through the shows first, but this is the first time we're doing this, though. Right, start with me. A year ago, you guys did this panel for the first time, it's 1 year later now. Do you think the state of podcasting has changed, or is it kind of stayed the same, kind of even? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Who wants to tackle that?
Well, there's a lot more of us out there.
Yes, definitely. One thing that I've learned is that better equipment equals better shows. I started off with a really crappy Logitech like desktop microphone where you could hear everything that was going on in my room, okay, and you could barely hear me. I was almost there, just a little bit. You heard me in the background, and I used software to record the show as opposed to hardware, and which meant every other show got lost, which was plenty of fun. Or we sounded entirely out of sync, and I then had to take 7 hours to go ahead and make us sound decent. Now I use a real microphone, and I use hardware to record it, and life is much easier now. And I think since then my listenership has gone up because they can actually hear what I'm saying. So that's an important thing I've learned over the past year. Use equipment where they can hear what you're saying. That's a plus.
Comics 101 is later on.
Yeah, I don't do the tech stuff. I have no idea what he
They
just
should
said.
hear you.
Yes.
I think he's dead on to say like the one thing that's different this year than last year is that a lot of people are doing it. At this time last year, you could go on iTunes, you could search comic books and podcasts, and you get like 30 or 40 shows, I guess. And now it's just like you have to scroll down endlessly. And it's just
Like 150.
if I'm a person who's looking for a show, it's always overwhelming. It's like walking into a comic shop. There's things you don't know what to choose from. And you're down on the floor, there's every single person is being interviewed by somebody with either a video camera or a microphone. So in that way, like it's kind of, I thank God we got it early. Because if we had to start a show now, it would be really, really good. But instead, I am. There we go. Oh, wow. It's different from the ones that we use on the show. But it's kind of cool. Like this year, I feel like people know us a little bit more. Like we're walking around, and people like we've had last year we had a few people be like, hey, and this year it's like a lot more people, which the video show helps. But but people we'll still talk to people and they're like, oh, I listen to your show, it's good. Like that we come across that a lot more. So it's in that way it's more people know about podcasts now, and more people know how to put them on their iPods, where it was a little more nascent last year. It's going really fast.
Yeah. Well, even all the new ones, because we lose. Someone will start a show, and then a week later they get bored and they stop. So but then you'll still see them in iTunes for a year later. Last show 2001. It's like what? But there are new ones popping up every day, and there's a lot of really good ones that just came out of nowhere. They're kind of fun. They're smaller ones. They're gaining an audience. And but I agree. It was kind of cool to get started a couple years ago. At least 2.5 years ago, to sort of more in on the ground floor to sort of be a little more established. But
I think too, the podcasts are really diversifying a lot more now. You have podcasts that are only doing X-Men, podcasts that are only doing Spider-Man, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think as we progress, I think you're going to see a lot more diversification and just focusing on just one topic.
I really like those because whenever something happens in Spider-Man, I'll actually seek out what the experts in that field think about.
Yeah.
Constant change.
You have to almost at this point because you can't just do a general one. You have to be like this. Because it started off, this comic book was a niche, and now people are seeking out niches within comic books so that they can talk about it. Again, thank God we got in early when we did.
Micromanaging.
Has your audience increased in the past year as well, or they seem to be if there's that many going on, they seem to seek out
5 to 10.
Has your individual audience increased?
Mine most certainly has, but that's only because I wasn't podcasting last year. I was doing it by proxy, so I guess in that respect it went down, but for mine it went up.
Yeah, I would think all of us probably have. I mean, we increased dramatically after last year. We had a steady flow of a certain number, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it boomed, and it just a lot of it's just I think just because we stuck to a weekly format and we kept just pushing it out there. We got a lot of really great guests, and then it helped when Dynamic signed on or we signed with them as our sponsor back in September, and that really gave us a bump as well. And then I think a lot of it also is that a lot of us are friends. And we all kind of push each other and pimp each other out all the time, and we'll do crossovers, and we'll, really help promote each other. So someone that might just listen to us, we're like, oh yeah, if you haven't listened to Fanboy Radio, it's got this great interview with so-and-so, or, you know, Comic Time is doing this, and then people hopefully will go check that out. And then I know they do it for us as well, so it's kind of nice, you know, sort of a community we build, so.
Yeah, I think,
Go ahead.
I think one of the keys to building audience too is what Jimmy was saying, is networking. Podcast together. You know, there's the Comic Podcast Network that's you know, been a help as well. So just to kind of because there are so many podcasts coming out, it can be hard. But if there's, you know, we all just kind of talk about each other and promote each other, I think that helps get the audience to grow. For all of us.
Yeah, from last year, actually right after the convention, like it almost doubled or something. Like the convention specifically, which is odd because we weren't, you know, it's like we weren't like, we didn't have a booth or anything. We were just sort of walking around, and we did this panel, and we did the first Tom video we did last year. But and yes, since then it's definitely gone up, and I still think that we're only scratching the surface of what it is. There's something like, you know, however many people use Newsarama, or, you know, like how many of those people actually know to put podcasts on their iPods, or how many people don't go to any of those, and they don't know that there's this thing out there. And I think we're right at the precipice with this sort of technology where people are about to figure out that there's all this free content out there for them, and it's really personal, and it speaks to them and everything, and I don't think we're quite there yet. You know.
I think that's just, sorry, it was a really great point you made, Josh, is that we really don't get advertised by any of the news sites or any of the other comic sites at all. And it's unfortunate because I think, and I don't want to speak for them, because I go to their sites every day and I enjoy them, I love them. But it's rare that you'll see, unless they have some sort of relationship with them, that a podcast is mentioned. And it's unfortunate because I hope they don't see it as like a competition thing where it's like, you know, well, you're probably right. And it's unfortunate because I'm not Barbara Walters. I'm not a journalist.
Thank God you're not Barbara Walters.
You're Barbara Walters. It's one of you.
Thank you.
I shall comment.
You're more like her now.
Incredibly supportive of me, so.
Well, you know what I mean. But it's like it's unfortunate because I've never considered I'm not a journalist at all. I'm having fun doing this at all. Exactly. I'm not a journalist. I just go there and have fun. But to me it's fun. So if they look at that, sorry, that sucks. But it's like, it would be nice, I think, if we did get mentions on some of these sites. No.
Please don't call me a pundit.
Oh, no, John Mayo is the pundit. We all know that. Are you a personality?
I'm just a dude that likes talking to these guys and girls and reads comics. That's it. I'm just a fan. I mean, like, has a chance to hang out, talk about what he likes, and gets to talk to people he digs, so.
He's the comics bartender.
Yeah, and I bartend as well, so, you know. They come in, they tell me the problems, I get them drunk, whatever.
He gets a great interviews that way.
Do you guys see the market for podcasting growing since the technology is starting to become more available? And as a result, do you think that, this is a hard question to ask because it kind of almost insults people, but do you fear competition coming up and maybe being better than your show because when you started that technology wasn't there?
Well, iTunes helped. I mean, when iTunes added podcasting, I mean, I saw a spike in my show by at least like 100 to 150 listeners like the day iTunes came out. And I realized that it is, you know, more readily available to podcasts these days. I mean, there are sites where you can podcast from your cell phone and, you know, put it out there. But I don't really see it as competition. I just see, you know, the more the merrier. I mean, you know, people out there, if they want to podcast, go ahead and podcast. I mean, we have our togetherness here, and I mean, if they want to be part of it, great. If not, then that's great too. Just, you know, do what you want to do and do it well.
Yeah, I don't see anyone, you know, on this panel or, you know, anyone who's going to start a new podcast as competition. It's just different viewpoints, different niches. It's very much narrowcasting in its truest sense. So again, the more the merrier. We should all play nice together. I've done a number of podcasts with Ian, certainly with Comic Team Speak and stuff. It's been a wonderful experience.
I think there's some competition only because there's actually, like, literally, if you wanted to listen to comics podcasts for 24 hours a day, you could. And there's like only so much time. I mean, I can only listen to so many comics podcasts, you know, so there's a few that I have to listen to. And if anything, that sort of diversification, that the size of all the people doing it, it makes us want to do a better show. So we have to sort of concentrate harder and not, you know, let it, like, we have to keep it kind of tight and not let it get so loose, but then not so tight. Like, for me, it makes us there's so many others out there, and comic fans and people on the web specifically, they're kind of fickle, and it doesn't take much to tip them over. I'm never listening to this again. So we want to do a really good show all the time, and so I guess that's sort of competition, but it more like it forces you to focus and do a good job, and I think one of the most important things you can do is do it every single week. You don't take weeks off and put it out when you don't want. Like for us, that steadiness is the whole thing. You really you learn to be professional, sort of.
Yeah, I think I think the competition to a degree is good because what Josh is saying, because it forces you maybe to evolve your show, perhaps. So we're not getting as many listeners. Maybe we need to add a feature to our show.
Yeah.
And slowly, maybe you might find more of a niche market for yourself. And like Josh was saying, just improving your show, making sure you're consistent. That's key, and that's part of the competition. Because if you're not consistent, then people are going to drop you, and they're going to listen to the guys who are. So.
It's only one click down. There's another 40 shows.
I wouldn't consider our show to be competitive with anybody else because we're basically just recording our conversations we had before we did the podcast. I mean, that's kind of how it grew. We would get together, talk comics, make each other laugh, and now we record it. And so,
well, the cool thing is nobody can do your show because you're Charlito and Mr. Phil, and that's a thing that is absolutely and utterly unique. And I'm actually surprised because for me, there's nobody who does indie stuff better than you. There's nobody it's just like indie comics. It's not. They're just, you don't seem to have a lot of competition. It's this niche that you guys fill perfectly.
I would think sooner or later there's going to be a whole bunch,
Just hold on for dear life.
Yeah, screw these guys. You guys. For now, it's pretty great.
There's 100 other people talking about the Batman issue that came out this week, so we have to.
Thank God.
Yeah,
There's only one Charlito.
Well, I think too, we all, even on this panel, I think our shows are all pretty different. So, I mean, that just shows you right there. People are gonna be able to pick and choose. And I notice on iTunes too, the people who listen to my show listen to, a couple of the other shows here too. So I think there is room for all the podcasts, and people are gonna listen to what they want. And I think as long as we all keep diversified, we're not clones of each other. So everyone can get something different for each of our shows.
Yeah, I do understand what he's saying. And I agree because some of our listeners have said that they have their sort of queue of podcasts they listen to, and sometimes someone will get bumped up to the top, and someone will get lost a week because they're, they depend on maybe an interview or a subject they're covering that week. So I guess there is some sort of I guess a bit of competition there,
but it's healthy.
Yeah, I think so.
We want to. I think podcasting should look at comics podcasting as one of the best. I think comics podcasts are some of the best podcasts out there.
Absolutely.
Because we're a little bit competitive, and because we all want to be the best, and because we're obsessive and contemplate minutia constantly, because we're comic book geeks.
We'll never run out of content because of that.
And some of the comic book podcasts are up for the National Podcast Award. Around Comics, Collected Comics Library with Marshall, and there are two others up for national awards just in podcasting in general, not comic book.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's really, those two things.
But I mean, at the same time, if another show came on the same radio market for my radio show, I'd just kill them. I'd just bomb them. No.
You get the ring all Kirk style,
Yeah.
shirt off.
Yeah.
Do it now. Or you. Anyone, really.
No one will be able to see it. How do you guys decide on your content? Some of you guys are more of an interview, some of you guys do more opinions, and some of you do reviews. So how do you guys decide on what you're going, not so much from week to week, but how did you decide the content for your shows to make it what they are now?
That's a good question.
Finally. Mark that one down.
I don't know. I think we just we try to mix it up. We try to do a fair share of interviews. We try to get around to reviews. We tend to get a little lax in that department. But basically, when something really knocks us out, we can't wait to talk about it. We try to get that on the show. We try to play to some of the strengths that we have. We let him run off and do his little ridiculous songs here and there when he needs to get that out of his system. And I get to have my little moments of snobbery and things like that. But
You said not as far as guests, right?
Well, even there, like,
Because
do you search out a specific guest?
sometimes we don't like actively like go after like exclusively A-listers and stuff like that. We really do like talking to some of the really small people in the market because it's like they're a big chance to really get out there and get some exposure. If if they have really good work, we want people to know about it. And but we do get to talk to some bigger people too, and some obscure people sometimes. Just before we came out here, I interviewed a guy I've been a fan of for 18 years that hasn't had a book out in 10, so no one's going to know who he is, but his work is outstanding, and I would love for people to like just go on eBay and dig it up and search it out. His name is John Berger, and he's brilliant. So we just want to really please ourselves. We have to like the show, because if we don't like it, no one else is.
Our content kind of grew organically. Like we've been doing the website, which was just written for a long time, and it was we do the pick of the week, and that was the one thing we've been doing for 5 years. One of us would pick the best book they read that week, so that was sort of what we started with. And then after that, very quickly, like the format of the audio show kind of gelled, and then we started getting enough letters to sort of fuel the second half of the show. And that's fun because we get to riff off whatever, and we don't have to think of anything. People send it in, we just pick one. The video show, which is also a podcast, it's a little harder. We have to think of like a new topic every week, and we're going to run out eventually. But we did one on funny comics, one on historical comics, and then sometimes we'll pick a guy and do a show about him. And a lot of times it's what's available. Like if somebody's coming to town and do a signing, then we'll do a show on them, do that thing, or it's a lot of chance. I'm guessing in the winter months, like we're gonna do like what I'm reading, because that's what we'll have to do. In the summer right now, we're just like, here's a con, here's a thing, there's all sorts of stuff. But it's funny because the format of our show, it seems to fit exactly in an hour, but it's completely organic, and luckily the books come out every week, so we talk about them every week. So that's where we get that.
I think my listeners are as important to me as the people that are on my show, and I like to get a lot of listener-suggested topics, and I'd say it's almost like maybe like 60-40. Like 60% are brought up by people who are usually on the show, 40% by people who visit our forums, send in emails, that sort of stuff, and we just we like to go off on that, and that allows me also to get pretty much anybody I want to get who I feel would be able to be bring something to the show onto the show. So, I mean, if we get somebody who's industry, so be it. If we get somebody who's, just a friend of mine who I think might be able to bring something in, that's great too. And we just sort of go from there. And I sort of like that about what I do. The fact that we do have such a rotating panel that, one week you can listen to the show and hear one voice, and you hear a completely different voice the next week. And that might actually help people pick and choose which shows are for them and which shows aren't also.
Yeah, I agree with Josh. Our show kind of grew organically. It started out as basically, me and the first co-host Nora, we would just basically talk about comic books. And so once I started listening to comic book podcasts, about a year and a half ago, I was just, I can do that. We're talking about it anyway. I might as well just record it. Put it out there. And then it just kind of grew from that. We added more hosts, and so it diversifies there. And so, like I said, just pretty much a discussion. And then as far as other content, been trying to get interviews and that sort of thing, kind of diversify it that way. Been trying things from off and on, but for the most part, it's at this point just a general discussion of the books that we're reading. And if a big movie comes out, we'll review that as well. And then the video podcast is kind of a spin-off of that, just because I've been using Photoshop for 12 years. And I have a couple of things I know, and just giving little tidbits of tricks that I've learned over the years.
Tomorrow. 101 is tomorrow.
But his idea. Yeah, we're talking concepts here. I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. Just basically just trying to diversify, and I'm always thinking about right now we're kind of in a nice smooth format, but we will probably start throwing things in there from time to time if we wanted to kind of spice things up a little bit.
I'm going to go with it seems like a good idea at the time. Criteria I tend to use. Like part of why I'm switching to a weekly format and talking about new comics and stuff is I feel there's a ton of great comics coming out these days that even with all these podcasts, a lot of them are just not getting the exposure they really need and deserve. And I read 24 or more comics Bob reads as much, if not well, actually quite a bit more than I do. And, we've been reading these things for, 10, 20, 25 years. And I think we can bring, some history and some context to the comics we're seeing now. How they compare to what came out way back when, and how what came out way back when is determining what's coming out. Particularly over at DC, it's almost old week when you're bringing back the 80s. So it's really, whatever I feel like talking about.
Yeah, since most of what I do is interviews, it's my absolute favorite creators, create a list of them, and go down the list. But when it comes to asking the questions and programming the shows, it's really, really with the non or barely reader in mind. I kind of have I have a situation where I can reach a lot of those guys, and then I really want to entertain them, welcome them to comics, while at the same time, the people who might be listening who don't necessarily have an interest in going to the comic book shop, but they're interested in the show and getting on the podcast and being a part of it, can be charmed by the culture, and that's real intentional, and really just I guess a lot of the programming is around what a radio show, the talk shows that I listen to, and the podcast that I listen to, just stealing, lots and lots of stealing. No, well, just having fun with it, and really what I would talk about, what I have talked about naturally in comic shops and at home and online for years. So every single podcast is an extension of the personality of the host. So those are going to evolve and change and be more reflective of their presence online. And that's one of the things that really excited me about this 1 year later is how that programming has changed and how their taste has changed. Those first couple questions are really interesting to me because you become more self-aware the more you're on. And then those criticisms or opinions or just what you say that gets saved forever and ever online can change for the better or worse.
Well, in January '05, my co-host Joe approached me about doing the podcast, and at the time I was doing some other things, so I couldn't really do it. And I said, well, I'll come on when I can. And he had another friend of his actually started off, so people go back to old episodes, like, who's this Julio guy? But by episode 4, I was on. They're like, I want to be on, do it, because I'm trying to find the time to help out. But it wasn't really weekly. It was kind of here and there and hit or miss. And Joe named it Comic News Insider. Not sure I would have went with that name. I like it now, but I might have,
He is not a journalist.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We're going to just listen to Jimmy. But, but it was just, see? But, we started getting stuff, started coming on sort of as, a guest all the time. And then finally around December '05, Julio couldn't commit to it full time anymore. And I told him, well, if we do it, I'm not doing this other thing. Let's do it weekly. Let's really establish this. So we came up with this whole format of what we have now, of the reviews, the news, and then interviews just started happening and got bigger and more. And just, from my old acting background back in the days and sketch comedy writing and stuff, we do little bits and random segments and, call-ins. We have friends of the show that come on and do little, like our Unemployed Skeletor is a good friend of ours, comes on all the time. Things like that. So it's just, it's
You have to
like I
repeat
said,
that. I think everyone missed him. Who comes on? Okay.
Unemployed Skeletor.
Okay.
You haven't heard of him? MySpace.com/Unemployed Skeletor. It's freaking hilarious. Let me tell you what, and it's genius. It's really funny. But yeah, go check it out. It's really funny. But things like that, like I said, it's very organic. Like, that's what's great about podcasting. It's like, when I was acting, you have to be, or you're at work, you can't bring your whatever with you. But podcasting, if you're in a great mood, sometimes it shows. If you're not in a great mood, you might take it out on that comic review. You might, or something like that. So it's kind of fun, and it's kind of natural that way, which is what I like about it.
If anybody has a job for Unemployed Skeletor, just approach him on his MySpace. I'm sure I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, he recently retired, so he is done. Blog 50 was his last one, so
Halloween's coming.
go say hi.
Unemployed, retired.
Yeah.
How do you
That's what he
retire
told
from
me.
unemployment?
Stop looking for work.
There you go.
Have you guys noticed if or whether or not you're getting attention from the publishers? Like, are they starting to take note? I mean, I noticed that Marvel and DC both do occasional podcasts themselves. So, do you think that they're not so much ripping you off, but do you think that they're?
They suck.
But do you think that they're looking at your content or your formats and really taking note of what you're doing out there for your product?
Well, for our show, the independent companies have been unbelievably supportive. Most of them send us free stuff all the time, which is nice.
And you would think they couldn't afford to do that. That's what's funny about it.
Now, most of them, they've just been wonderful, very supportive. They hook us up with interviews. They've been taking out sponsorships to help us out. They've just been wonderful. We can't complain at all. It's not like, we're not in the situation I think that you're referencing at all, so we're different.
I think it's starting. I think the majors are, like he says, that the indie publishers have been really receptive. I can think of a bunch of guys who I've talked to, and they've been they've sent me books and been really friendly, and we meet them at the cons, and that's really cool. We know, we have some contacts with some of the bigger places, but I don't think institutionally a lot of us are on that radar, also because they don't really know who to bother with. Because there's, there's so many shows, and if there's 50 people, like, we have a show, will you let us talk to Joe Quesada? Only some of us get him. Yeah, that's right. No, but I think it's interesting where like a lot of the bigger name creators will surprise you. We'll get an email from somebody. Surprisingly, the lettering and coloring industry seems to be very aware of us.
They gotta listen.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, but it's really that part's really cool. Where I don't think that we're not quite on the level of even the biggest of us are not quite getting up like Newsarama and Wizard probably getting a lot more of their attention right now. But I think it's going to be going forward. A couple of years from now, some of these shows are going to be just as big an outlet because they're free and people really like them, and why wouldn't they take advantage of them?
I mean, mostly it's been individual creators that I've found that some people do listen to the show, and I'm sure that I'm not sure if we have any of the really big wigs listening to it, but we do get the occasional one, and I've even gotten the occasional unsolicited people emailing me saying, "Hey, give me your address. I want to send you my comic," and I'm like, okay. So anything free is certainly nice. I like free stuff. So anybody out there who wants to send me free stuff, it's comictiming@gmail.com, just to let you guys know. But mostly, I could foresee the big companies maybe in the future sort of maybe going more out there for us, like saying hey, we have this thing, let's get this going. But I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we are getting there over time, but it's probably going to be a couple more years until that really starts happening more often.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much just echoing everything's been said already. But sometimes I haven't really cracked the upper echelon of the bigger companies yet. But a lot of times it's just individual creators. A lot of indie creators are very, very supportive. At the con, just going up to the con, but sometimes even bigger companies will surprise you. You talk to the PR guys there, and a lot of times they're very helpful. And I think some of them get it, maybe some don't. But the ones that do are very, very helpful. So I can see that growing, especially as podcasts get more and more mainstream, general public. So they'll realize we have this, user base of thousands upon thousands of people that we can reach for, easily.
Would you want to say
Yeah, I just want to add, even if you don't have the company for you, comics are unique because if you want anybody, you can go after them directly. I was kind of kidding with Scott, but Scott got Joe Quesada because he went after it. And he says, I'm going to talk to you, and you can do that in comics. You can't, getting Martin Scorsese doesn't work the same way, or Jack Palance, which is kind of cool. So even if you, even if you don't have the company's PR department working for you, all of these people are there for the taking if you've got the perseverance and you want to go after them, which is totally unique to this medium.
So, what about you?
I haven't had any really much to do with interviews and stuff, but I do think that podcasts are just this huge untapped potential for publishers. It's free advertising.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do whatever I can to help, particularly the small press publishers. A lot of the podcasting I do is looking at the numbers. And, I see a Civil War doing 300,000, and I see indie publishers doing 2,000 or something. And it's like, my God, Civil War may have been better, it may not have been, but it certainly wasn't, 100 times better or something. So, whatever I can do to support these guys, and,
Certainly wasn't.
But the PR department, it is 100% better to them.
Now, Scott, before you answer the question, the funny thing, I've listened to the
We
show.
already mentioned Civil War.
Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. But I've listened to the show, and like you've actually gone on to claim that you've gotten projects approved
Yes.
at like some of the companies.
Yes,
So, like,
we broker deals.
So in answering the question, like, do you notice that those guys, are now listening to you guys more?
Well, I love busting Marvel and DC's chops. They're just such jerks sometimes, and they know it. And they're huge, monstrous, evil corporate machines.
Tell us how you really feel.
But that they're huge targets. They know it, and so that's kind of relationship I've had with them for 5.5 years. And so when you get guests on, I'll pour all my money down their throat, though. So it's a love-hate relationship that I'd say about 90% of all comic fans have with Marvel and DC. And I think they find that endearing, the way I find them endearing. And so, we've had Casada on, and the names that I really, like Josh said, really want to go after being tenacious is what it's all about. But whether it's desperately trying to get like a Fable storyline done, which is really tough because that's Bill Willingham's baby, and I'll send him the podcast and I'll beg and I'll just tell him that he should take this idea and run with it and all that kind of stuff, or just getting this either Hollywood guy or no-name creator book. I think some guys listen to me, and I know they listen to part of their job is listening to the bulk of comic book podcasting. I mean, they don't say it, they don't appreciate it. They want comic book podcasting to be authentic. They don't want them to know that they're really listening, but they are. They don't want it because, like I said, the best podcasts are comic book podcasts. And if you work as a PR person in comics, how can you not listen on your commute or when you're working out?
You have to take in all of it.
You have to.
Yeah.
Especially when, like John Suntress said on the last year's panel, this has essentially replaced the tiny independent magazines about comics that were much more prevalent 5 years ago, just kind of maybe in local circulation or on electronic bulletin board systems or stuff like that. This is a whole budding new venue for the publishers to feel the pulse of their fans, and so they'd be idiots not to listen. I mean, they're idiots anyway, but they'd be even more idiots not to listen.
Jimmy, you actually cover news on your site as well, so like.
You're a journalist.
That's right. Yeah, that's,
Wait, I thought he. Okay.
So I mean, getting that news, is it is it any easier?
not really. I mean, it's just kind of the same thing I do. I mean, I scour like everyone else does. Every website, news site, hours a night. But there's also, I've had the opposite reaction of some of you guys. The same reaction with the indie guys. They're so great. People, come and give you books and want you to read, and if we can, we'll review them and talk about them. But I've been, what do you want to call it, luck or whatever, but I have many friends in the industry. And a few of them were pretty big names. And so through them, just hanging out partying, I'll meet all these other people. And I'm just hanging out drinking with these guys or eating or whatever, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you have a podcast? And then it's like, I guess they feel comfortable. They're like, they've had a few beers, like, all right, I'll do the show. So it's become that simple.
Do it now.
It's because, and it's kind of fun. A lot of it helps that, yeah, exactly. Get them liquor. But no, it helps that certain friends I have will, introduce me, and the fact that I know that person, they'll be like, oh, well, he's a friend of that person, so yeah, why not? So that's been kind of lucky and kind of fun that way, and it gets me indoors. That but so with the big companies I do, like with DC Marvel, I have a pretty good relationship with, because I know some of the guys there, the execs. I'll just call them and they'll, like, ready for a charity thing, we're doing a raffle, and they'll send us a ton of books or a ton of stuff, and it's really great, and to have that, but it's, like I said, it's just, it's got lucky because I have to know these guys, and girls, so.
I've learned so much about the process.
Three of you in the past year, Josh, John, and Scott, have started video podcasting. Just talk about how that's been going so far.
It's a lot harder than audio.
Just, like, you're like, well, we'll just turn the camera on. I'll be like, just turning the mic on. It's not the case at all. Like, our shows are like 20 to 30 minutes, and they take hours and hours and hours more planning than an audio show. Which an audio show is we'll do, we'll record it, we'll have to read our books, and we sort of do a rough outline of the kind of stuff we're going to do. And I'd say the total time to being done is probably 3 hours. Like a little prep, do the show, and then, post it and then put it online and done. The video show is just like this all-encompassing thing, and I don't know. It's everything is still feels new about it. Like it's cool because nobody's quite doing it. I feel like we're like the first few people doing it, and that's really neat. Nobody's seen all of these people before, and like just with a year ago, nobody heard all of these people before. But at the same time, and it's a constant challenge because you don't really just want a couple of people sitting on a couch talking. So you really have to think about how to make it dynamic beyond that. So I mean, it's going really well and it's fun, and it's continually surprising that in a culture that sort of is can be as venomous as comics are. People have been exceptionally friendly. With the day that our video show went on, I started a little folder in my email program called Hate Mail, and I literally have only one email in there, because I thought I was going to be getting tons of them. Like, what's that address? contact@ifanboy.com. So it's good. I still think it's nascent. I think our best stuff is in front of us still.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my video podcast is so different than I think Josh and Scott's. It's because it's tutorial based. So I don't know if you've ever seen tutorial podcasts before. Because basically you're just looking at the computer screen. So not terribly exciting unless you're interested in it. So it's all part of the niche thing.
But so much more useful.
That's the point. That's the thing. It's going to be. We just started it. So
in that regard, did you specifically look to do that?
yeah, I've looked on iTunes and I've been downloading for a while Photoshop podcasts, tutorial podcasts, but I haven't really seen any digital comic book creation podcasts. And so I was like, you know what, I can fill that niche, I'm very, like I said, I'm skilled in Photoshop, but there's other programs out there, so I set up the website for other programs as well, and I'm going to start encouraging other creators, hopefully. And it doesn't take long. It's amazing about the comparison to audio to video. 10 minutes of video, like on a low resolution video, is like twice the size of my audio show. So there's certain things like I have to think about now, So and the editing is a little bit different as well. So it's still haven't quite got its legs yet. It's still kind of learning processes. The video's a lot different, like Josh said, than audio, and it's a learning curve. But yeah, I looked at it and I didn't see anything there. I figured there'd probably need, so I decided to fill it.
This year, since I've done this panel, we signed an awesome contract with Langford Media Group and M&1, and basically we're one of the first. I haven't investigated enough, but we're one of the first multi-camera live internet TV shows. And so Fanboy TV is something I'm really, really proud of. It's pretty much like 3.5, 4 years in the making. The goal is broadcast. We have meetings here for that, and it's my baby. And it's not just like, it's not filming us in the studio doing the radio show. It's very fast, segmented entertainment show, comics plus pop culture. That its goal is comic evangelism. It's bringing in people into the crowd.
I hope someone quotes that. Comic evangelism is probably one of the best buzzwords that could have come out of this convention.
Comic evangelism?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, I mean, it's not going to save the world or industry or anything, but I think it was like 3 years ago, there was like 3,200 comic shops, and now there's 2,400 comic shops. Like, something must be done by the fans to drop down their defenses, or the comic book retailers to drop down their defenses, and quit making this either a boys club, an insider knowledge club. I don't know. I think that right now, I mean, this is not the point of the question at all. But I think beyond recommended mandatory reading for everyone, on the panel especially, but in the room, is reading comics by Walt. It came out about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's real something new, right?
Brand new, but it is good medicine. It is really good medicine, and I absolutely love it. But it's not a comic. So I had a problem with that. to make it actually like a TV show. It's live, totally interactive. It's an hour long. It has a hard program clock. You know, we have to go to break. You know, we have 12 minutes of commercials, and the goal is clearly broadcast TV. And to our target is the Packers show, and taking them out, or not necessarily taking them out.
So means taking them out.
Coexist.
No. But it's totally different.
You just got a rare glimpse into his real.
Happily. I'm just giving him a hard time.
Put the crowbar away there.
But I mean, it's me and Oliver. We do the radio show. It's down the street, not across the river. Okay. But the show's really a lot of fun, and the same people who do the radio show do the TV show, and I love it. Fanboy.tv.
Just in sort of counter to that, where his goal is, and I don't want to take up a lot more time because not everybody has video shows or whatever, but like in counter to his, he says his goal is for broadcast. Ours is not. Ours is revision3.com is looking forward to the future of TV, where I would say it's going to exist more on the web. So we're doing this new kind of programming, whereas the way that I look at it, like sort of the TV model, sort of the old model, and going forward, it's more on demand. It's exactly what you want. It's when you want. It's the thing you want to do, and that's the way we're doing it. And, when we do our show, it's like this little chunk of what we're thinking about comic books at that time, and it's this thing I don't think can exist on regular TV because it's too formatted. And it's still, this applies to all the audio shows too. Like, doesn't in radio you've got this much time, you have to do this and hit this at this time, and this we can be more
Again, attacking radio, man. Just like last year.
you're the old. What do you want?
Or mass. One way, mass media. Or people who are just searching for podcasting. It's one of the
That
other.
took an hour for that better to come out. What about the rest of you guys? Have you considered doing video? Like, is it something that you're at all interested in?
Well, if I were to do video, it would look like one of those YouTube videos where the guy's just sitting in front of his camera with his like pajamas on and talking to absolutely nobody. So that would really work too well for me because again, most of the guys that I talk to are they're living all over the place. So unless I were to get like local friends of mine that were interested in doing video and that sort of stuff, and well, cash is important too, where I'd be able to get a couple cameras, set something up, and not living with my parents in a small ass room, that helps too. Then maybe I would start thinking about it. Then maybe I'd start thinking about it.
This is the great part about podcasting is it gets really honest.
Oh yeah.
That stuff is like, and then they tell me I have to be quiet after 11, and I'm like, I'm doing the show.
Lights out.
Oh man. See if that was actually the case, I would have never started podcasting. But no. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Sorry, Joe. Oh man, but yeah, just to finish it off, it's a long way down the line if it actually happens. And again, I'd have to actually have people sitting next to me in order for this to happen, because there's no way in hell I could have syndication going on or multiple cameras in multiple cities going on talking to the people that I talk to.
It'd be interesting to do video stuff. I mean, for the numbers and stuff, having charts and visual representations of that would be really helpful.
Yeah, your show especially.
But I'm way too lazy for that. I mean, certainly I consider it, and I see huge benefits to it. It just seems like there'd be a bit more prep time, putting together the charts, some of that. Yeah, we'll see.
We talked about special shows doing a video thing, but I don't know, my pretty days are over. I was so
Jimmy, you have a face for radio.
so pretty. And
I've
just
been
look
told
what
I have a
happened.
face for podcasting.
Dude, you're still prettier than Barbara Walters.
Thank you very much. I have better hair at least. So.
What about you, Phil?
Well, the only reason I ever agreed to do this podcast with Charlito was because I wouldn't be seen. This is horrific enough for me.
He's wearing a mask right now,
Terrible.
actually.
I'm freaking out. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd want to pursue it because he's an unstoppable ham. So maybe I'll have to find somebody else to do that version.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's already pursuing it right now.
That's why
Mr.
he's
Phil,
not
you
here.
could do talking sock puppets.
I can do that.
Can we have him on for musical interludes? They give you that? Thanks. Awesome.
This is going to be my last question, then we're going to open up to everybody else. What was your favorite show of the last year? I don't mean Lost, I mean of your own.
Oh, Heroes was awesome.
Josh
There's a panel because of
by the
this.
way.
My favorite was we talked to Dave Sim, the creator of Cerebus, and it was great because he was just a thrill. He was so much fun. He was really funny, really nice. He let us go on, and he would just joke around the whole time, and wasn't mean to us, which was nice because we thought he might be. He has a bit of reputation. You get on the wrong side of him, he's going to tear you apart. That was probably our best one.
So did you mean our? I mean, I was thinking of somebody else's show.
No, you're on. We'll plug other shows after.
No, my favorite thing, I don't know, it's hard to say because we do one every week and it's like they're all the same. But like, the things that stand out are like occasionally something will pop up just sort of organically in the spirit of the way it's going. That's really fun. And we did this thing where we were talking about the Black Panther, and he was staying with the Fantastic Four, and it came up that is he the worst roommate of all time? And it led to like this 10-minute tearful laughing tirade. Like we ended up having a contest out of it where people sent in their favorite portrayals of that. So we had people send in like these awesome full color comic book covers they did of like people picking Black Panther hair out of the sink and just like it was just the idea that like the amazing graceful king of Wakanda is just like sitting around in his boxer shorts and drinking your milk, and it's just like those moments that sort of come out of it. Because he was staying with the Fantastic Four in one book, and he was staying with the X-Men in another book, and it's just like the X-Men would go out, and he'd be like, "I'll be here. Where's the remote?" That one specifically, I remember. There've been others, but that, like, for me, that was like the most fun from the year.
I think actually, I'll just list two because these two just came into my head right now. One actually is one that I did with that guy over there and a friend of ours, David D., where we basically did in 2 episodes, we did all of 52. And we did the first half, like half a year ago, where we did literally the first half of 52, and then when it was over, we did the second half of 52. And this was, we went everywhere with that one. We went with the positives, we went with the negatives. It's one of the few shows I actually got hate mail from, because for the second half, one guy said we were too negative. Why do you read comic books? All you can say is negative things. But you know,
I usually like all comic books.
Yeah, I know.
What do you
I
say
know.
bad things about them? You hate them.
I mean,
Forward me that email.
yeah, I will actually, but no, because again, what we tried to do with that episode is that we weren't one of those guys that just went out there and said, oh yeah, 52 is one of the most awesome things we've ever read, this is the most brilliant thing. We weren't afraid to say what we disliked about it, and that's actually what I really liked about those episodes. Another one also that I really liked, and I'll mention here, other than the original one I mentioned earlier, was our interview with Steve Bryant, because he's one of my favorite guys to have on.
Steve does Athena Voltaire.
Yeah, Steve Bryant of Athena Voltaire. You talk about anything with this guy, and he will carry a conversation for 2 hours. And we actually had him on for 3 hours. Before we knew it, it was 3 hours. We had to split it up into 2 episodes. It was great, and Steve's an awesome guy to have on.
This is kind of echoing Josh. Our shows are pretty much the same, format, so it kind of melts together. But just whenever we are able to kind of forget that we're in a podcast and we're just having a discussion about comic books, we get into things. Sometimes there are arguments. I enjoy the arguments because I think that passion about me and him argue a lot. But yeah, I think that when that happens, I enjoy that. I enjoy that discussion. Just when it's pure discussion, I think that's really cool.
I syndicated the 52 episode on mine, so I may count that too.
No, okay.
Because a lot of mine, are going over the trade numbers, Chris, collecting comics library and stuff, which is great fun, and I always enjoy that. But it gets to it's like, I don't say the same fun, but a bit repetitive. I did one I really enjoyed on spoilers with the guys from Raging Bullets. Of course, they do spoiler-filled reviews, and I'm very much against spoilers. It was a great discussion. It was a lot of fun.
Probably the one that is my favorite that I'm most proud of is 349 Alan Moore.
That's a good one, man. I gotta say, just talk about that for you got it through Melinda, right? Like she set it up with you.
I had to hit 2 of his friends at the same time and coordinate them asking him at the same time. I said, all right, now you wait. And one of the fellow writer and someone who works real closely with one of his publishers, I knew he wanted to promote Lost Girls more than any other thing and explain it. this was last November, New York Times sent a link to it, and that's basically got us the numbers needed to get my contract for the Fanboy TV, because New York Times got us into like just astronomical figures when that happened. But no, it was really, it had to be very coordinated very well, and that and the Joss Whedon show is the most pressure of any other. Just what am I going to ask?
Yeah, I can say there's so many with the interviews, like, when we interviewed Joss, I was like, saying I'm a huge fan, so I'm like, what do you ask, you know? So I don't know, I guess I recently did. This one was great, we split that into two, that was awesome. Stan Lee, and maybe The Death of Uni. That was a good episode.
Maybe it's a guy Stan Lee.
Anybody know the Uni character from the old Dungeons and Dragons cartoon? That one, you know, one show we talked about it, and I kept doing the noise, so all of our listeners like wrote in like, could you, if you ever fucking do that again. So next show we killed him. Death of Uni, it's classic.
All right, let's open it up. Anybody have any questions for these guys? Right here.
How did you get started?
Just do it. Podcasting 101 panel on Saturday.
No,
there's gonna be the Podcasting 101 panel tomorrow noon.
No, it's
Saturday 1:30. I have no idea what day it is anymore. It's in the thing. It's like the first day of the con. I'm like, oh, but you gotta do it. Like everybody probably, they're gonna talk about this more tomorrow. But you just find a recording software. You find Audacity. You plug in a microphone. You get some friends. You do it by yourself. You just make it happen. Make a file, put it on a feed, and like the whole thing is to do it. It's like any other artistic endeavor, I suppose.
That's way too much work. Just get invited on somebody else's.
Well, I had the luxury when I first started out of working from a college radio station and having their equipment to do all of the work for me.
There you go.
And that was really awesome. Then I left college, and immediately I had to try and scrape things together. But once I got things off the floor, then it was great. But yeah, I missed it.
You didn't stay as an
equipment
adjunct
so much.
professor?
You know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's my tip.
Anyone else? Anyone? Right here.
What's everybody's one favorite show?
This is causing trouble.
My favorite show is.
I'm going to say it before anybody else. John Sundridge, the word balloon.
Okay. Who was totally going to be here? He's flying in tomorrow morning. He was supposed to be on this panel, so
I'm going to go with Collective Comics Library. You know, Chris does a great job going over what's in the trade, what's coming out and stuff every week. It's nice, it's short, it's to the point. Definitely worth listening to.
For too much pressure, I don't know. I listen to so many different, not just comic podcasts, there's some other ones out there. I don't know, I really started liking Geek Syndicate. These two British guys, lifelong friends. They've been hilarious, and they're just these, big old geeks, and they talk about, comics, talk about when they go to cons, and they clearly known each other since they were embryos, so really good rapport. And they're really funny, but check it out. It's a UK-based Geek Syndicate. So.
For fear of Sean Whalen coming out for me with a mace, I have to mention Raging Bullets, because they're a DC Comics fan podcast, and they usually go on for about 12 hours, and it literally is. I put it on my MP3 player, and I'm listening to it for the rest of the week. It's great, and they usually have some awesome stuff on there.
If you're the least bit of a DC fan, you've got to listen to Raging Bullets.
No question about it.
Or if you're like afraid of DC.
Hey,
more scared?
well, no. Here's the
what
best.
you like.
Yeah, the best thing about their show is that if you don't read any DC comics, but you're interested in all in DC, just listen to their show and you've read it, because they go that in depth on every single page and every single everything. You've read those issues just by listening to Raging Bullets.
I would say Iran Comics. It sucks that they can't be here. I kept bugging them, and they're going to be in Chicago, of course. But I just love that show because you got three guys and a couple of other people here and there. And it seems like it would be so similar to like our show because it's three guys or whatever, and it's not. They just have a completely different take on it, and that show is interesting because of their unique dynamic of those things. And I just I'm annoyed at how funny Tom Caters is.
I actually enjoy comic geek speak, even though I hardly ever know what the hell they're talking about. At least they're entertaining. And at some point I get really confused and have to turn it off.
And I think we'd all be remiss if we didn't mention Augie's Pipeline podcast.
I'm sorry he couldn't be here today.
What's that?
This is my attempt at his voice.
Oh, that's very good.
But I don't have enough bass.
Yeah, it's one of the best shows. I mean, other than everything that we're talking about.
And it's real easy to keep up on because it's nice and short.
Yeah.
God love him and his 12 minutes.
Short podcasts, I have no idea how to do those.
All right, gentlemen, the racking shirt.
I'm really unfamiliar with this whole thing, but it's very stimulating and interesting. My question is, as far as the financial platform and the business platform, where it is now and where it's going to go in the next 3 years, what are your top 2 or 3 sort of targets as far as revenues coming in and structure of that?
I hope to spend less money on podcasting. That's about the goal. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it
So
just-
none of right now, but I mean, in the future, do you think that obviously there's going to be some in the future it's going to switch, and then you guys will all be making bank somehow?
Very optimistic of you.
Maybe some of us already are.
Most podcasts usually do not end up making money.
And I really don't want to because, like when I'm going over the numbers and stuff, I want to call it like I see it, not feel like I'm OG. Am I going to jeopardize, any kind of endorsement from maybe, DC or whoever,
We do. I mean, some do ads. And I mean, that's how they get their money. I mean, I myself, I was just happy to get a free ticket to New York Comic Con when I mentioned them on the show. But pretty much that's how I would end up doing it. I mean, if they want to make ads on a show, I'll have a small minute and a half segment. And that's really the only way I'm foreseeing making money on my show, at least.
I think eventually we're through our sponsor, we'll probably get advertising on and make some money that way, but it certainly is not going to be, Microsoft. Yeah, that would of course our sponsor, but I mean they come up, they will get ads through them, but it's just like I said, it's not going to be something huge, I'm sure, in the beginning because our numbers don't warrant that. And when our numbers do warrant that, then that's whatever happens. So.
Bill Gates for Comic News Insider.
I want this to be my job.
Gentlemen in the Hawaiian shirt.
What's the importance of interaction with your audience in your podcast?
It's huge.
Yeah. The greatest part about the whole thing is this community that develops, and I'm sure we each have our own unique set of people that we feel like we know and they're friends, and for us they send in letters and they participate on the forums and they give us stuff to talk about and they call in voicemail. It's giant, and it's really cool because they get to be part of the show too.
Yeah, they're the reason why I killed Uni. So.
Yeah, I think listener feedback is hugely important because hopefully your listenership is vocal and they'll tell you if you're not doing something that they like.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you if you're doing something that they do like. I mean, recently I added timestamps for all the books that we review, so you can skip because we're spoiler heavy. So you can skip the books that you've read, and I got positive feedback for that. So it was nice to hear, and so I know when I'm doing something right, and hopefully you know when you're doing something wrong.
I just want to say real quick, this actually kind of goes back slightly to the last question. Our listeners on our forum came up with the idea for us to raise some money that we should put out a big anthology comic with all these great indie creators. And so we asked a bunch of people, and just about all of them said yes. So now we have a 200-page book coming out in October that they all did their work for free, and we're going to split the revenue. Yeah, it's called Awesome. It's in the previews that came out today. And we're going to split the profits with the publisher. Just wants to make his money back. He volunteered to print it for us and everything, which is amazing. It's Evil Twin Comics. And we're going to split the profits with the Center for Cartoon Studies in Vermont. We're going to set up a little fund for a needy student, and they'll get the money. And half the money we're going to use to buy some new equipment, so we'll stop losing shows, and to help keep us going, so we don't have to plunk all our own money into it.
Over here.
Kind of guys mentioned a little bit earlier how it's really hard to do this sort of show on comics in either television or radio. It's not either too expensive or too controlled by a couple.
The man.
What kind of obstacles do you guys kind of foresee happening in the future as podcasting becomes more and more available? People kind of start tuning in a little bit more. It's only a matter of time.
Well, I think somebody said it earlier. It is like when you do get advertisers, there's that worry of, what if, Marvel, says an ad and all of a sudden we're like, this book sucked, whatever. There's a. Exactly. See, that's the thing with Dynamic Force, our sponsor. We in our contract when we sign with them, like we can say we hate it. We basically put that in the words, and they were like, that's fine. And there's many Dynamite books I love, and there's quite a few I don't like, and we said it on the show, and they're okay with that. So they've been very, very open and very nice about that. So I mean, it's kind of nice. But if it's get something bigger, some ads, that is a worry. I mean, 'cause we'll just have to see what happens when it happens. But
I'm afraid of using music and the artist telling me not to use their music. But
I'm afraid of the NBA.
Yeah. That's why I always try to use like for my opening music and stuff like that. Like I went to GarageBand.com and use that sort of stuff. But that's really the only thing you really got to worry about for the small time podcasts. Just don't use anything you're not supposed to, and you're good.
I don't think there are a lot of obstacles at this point. It's like it's wide open, and the only thing stopping us is our own. Like we have to get in. Like it's really the hardest thing is an audience, getting awareness. Is how many 100,000 people downstairs. How many of them would like to listen to the show? Probably a whole lot more than ours. Not just ours, but anybody's. Like marketing in this weird space isn't quite there because none of us have budgets for ads in Wizard or something like that. So just getting out there right now, the only thing we have is ourselves. Like we just have to do a really good show and hope other people tell other people about it. And that's a big challenge.
However, if you want to give us free advertisement,
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say. However, if you want to give us free advertisements, that would be wonderful.
Let me follow up. Like, I know, Josh, you were kind of alluding to it earlier. Would you go on radio? Like, would you, if someone had a time slot?
Instead of my day job? Hell yeah. In a second. I mean, I totally would. But I feel like that is a little bit of, the radio audiences and TV audiences are shrinking and more people are spending more of their time. I just feel like eventually, like as the stuff converges, it's going to be you're going to get everything from his server anyway. Not, there isn't going to be broadcast TVs.
But, I mean, there'll be two different things that are going to be one.
Well, you get to be the best of both worlds. Yeah, no, you can. And I would, of course I would do that. I would totally like to do that. Do I think that as the way that broadcast television exists now, I don't think that, a TV audience for a comic book show has yet to exist. There may be the more that cable channels get niche. I honestly hope you do because it's good for all of us either way. But there's still you require a big enough audience. I don't know how 300,000 people buy Civil War. So if every one of those people watched your show on TV, is that enough to keep a show on cable? I don't know exactly.
It is.
All right. I used to work in TV. I have no idea.
Right over here.
How important is getting reviews like on iTunes or various places? Do you notice a change in your hits when that happens?
Yeah. Those reviews are the only thing to give you relevance over anybody else. So like when you look at it, there's a little popularity bar. Like if you search comic books, the people who have the most reviews and the most things, the ones who are going to show up sooner, and people who are searching for stuff are going to think, well, more people like that. I'd say that's more important. So I press that a lot.
Well, I think the popularity bar works more just on people that are clicking on you because we have hardly any reviews on iTunes. We got maybe
it's a mystery and they won't say.
But we're still like probably if you type in comic podcast, we're probably the third or fourth that might pop up. I think. So I don't know. I mean, like I'm not sure. I think it's certainly the more you have, you're like, oh, look, there's a lot of people listening to them. Some certainly it helps, but I don't know if it's the be all end all.
Okay, go ahead.
If the numbers get big enough eventually, all you cats and cats like you guys and whoever else joins in this whole podcast thing is just starting to reel. And you created a coalition or some sort of power with all of you, then you control the stations, a paycheck station might want to give you less, but you say, hey, we're a coalition. We're only going to come in if we're coming together, we're going to do this.
Unionize?
I know there's stuff, but yeah.
The podcaster picket line.
Well, we've done something. We do have a comic podcast network, and when it comes for different conventions and stuff, like we've all we're on email lists together, and we formed like in the New York Con recently. They were generous and gave us this big podcast alley, and all of us had tables, a lot of us did. And we keep in touch, and we try to keep each other abreast of what's going on with each other. And when it comes to things like this, or when it comes to a group thing, for the future, I don't know. That'd be kind of. I think it might be kind of nice to go on this one, and then do our own thing. But
Yeah. Okay, before we go, just plug your websites and where they can hear you, and that would be good. So we want more listeners.
Well, our show's indiespinnerrack.com, and it's on iTunes and just about everywhere else you might want to look for a podcast.
We're at ifanboy.com and revision3.com/ifanboy. They host our video show. They just sort of work as a producer. We have T-shirts. You can get them at the AIT Planet Lair booth. When we're there, you can see us on the floor. We're having a party Friday night, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. at a bar called Basic, which is on 10th Avenue in J. First 60-something people will get a free drink ticket. The Totally Rad Show people are going to be there, so Alex Albrecht and Dignation, and then those other guys. And then they're doing that other panel. Oh, we're doing a live show, live Pick of the Week podcast tomorrow. Wait, Connor?
Yes.
Yeah, tomorrow about 2 o'clock on the upper mezzanine terrace. Is that
Connor awake?
I'm terrible. I'm like the guy who doesn't know the details. They do the scripts and everything. I just go like blah, blah, blah.
You can find us over at speakgeekspeak.com/comic timing. It's a nice tongue twister. And you can obviously just search for Comic Timing on iTunes or Podcast Alley or any other place, or just Google Comic Timing Podcast and it should show up. And I think that's really all. Yeah.
ComicTalkCafe.com, iTunes, and our video shows on comicbookpixels.com.
www.comicbookpage.com. Just click on the podcast.
Fanboyradio.com, fanboy.tv, and well, I can grab it. I also really like other comic podcasts. I have to mention like Double Dorkometer podcast and the Fanboardcast, and I know I'm forgetting other ones. The Fixer's Basement, stuff like that.
comicnewsinsider.com. Also, we're on MySpace as well. myspace.com/comicnewsinsider. We're all over the place. There's a hotline you can call. There's our big 100th episode is coming up. If you're in New York, August 4th on a Saturday, it's going to be recording live from a bar. There'll be a lot of fun, a lot of special guests. We'll be there. John Cassidy, Paul Pope, John Lucas, Maliati, some other guys will be showing up. Ennis might come by. So it'll be a lot of fun if you live in New York. Come on by. Go to our website. There's info there. And there's beautiful cards here for you if you'd like one. So Paul Pope did the art. Look at that. Beautiful. Anyway, that's us.
Hey, everyone, thank you very much for coming.